Welcome to LoyalTV. Join us this week in Shawnee as we honor the legacy of Aloysius Larch-Miller.
The fight for women's suffrage began in 1848 with the Seneca Falls Convention in Seneca Falls, New York. This was a battle that was going to last 72 years. And interestingly enough, even though it started in New York, it was the western states that took the lead in the fight and began to allow women the right to vote. Oklahoma as a territory and then as a state was very, very progressive, very populist in their ideas. And frankly, at that point, any well-educated woman was doing what she could to further the cause of women's suffrage. Aloysius Larch-Miller was born in Tennessee, and she moved with her family to Oklahoma Territory in 1903. They moved to Shawnee. She taught kindergarten, where she soon developed a reputation for being exceptionally kind to her students. When World War I started, she also got involved in the American Red Cross. And in fact, she was the secretary of the nursing committee for the Southwest Division of the United States. And she was also the chairperson of the Third Liberty Bond Committee in Pottawatomie County. They sold war bonds to help finance the war effort. But at the same time, she was also involved in the women's suffrage movement, very much involved, as a matter of fact. And in 1920, she knew that she was risking not only her health, but it could, risking more than that when she decided that it was that important for her to get up out of her bed and argue that Oklahoma should call a special session to ratify the 19th Amendment. Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, there were political shenanigans going on. And Governor Robinson at the time wasn't being terribly cooperative in the process. The 7th Oklahoma legislature had adjourned without voting to ratify the 19th Amendment. And so the Petitions Committee, of whom Aloysius Larch-Miller is the chairperson, goes to work. And their strategy is to contact the legislators and get them to pledge that they would attend a special session paying all their own expenses. And they attempt to contact Governor Robinson, and he doesn't reply to them. His strategy at this point is just to ignore them. And so a big fight is beginning to set up. January 31st, 1920, in Pottawatomie County, the Democratic County Convention is held. The State Attorney General, S.P. Freeling, who was known as one of the most adept orators in the state, was scheduled to make an appeal to the convention against calling a special session. Aloysius Larch-Miller, at this time, she was 33 years old. She'd gotten the flu. Without some of the modern drugs that we have, influenza was really a dangerous disease to have at the time. But she hears about S.P. Freeling going to address the convention, and she feels that if she doesn't attend and debate him on this subject, then they could lose all of the advancement that they had made that time, convincing people. So Freeling gets up and speaks, and from all accounts, he was very eloquent. But then Larch-Miller convinced the convention by an overwhelming vote to pass a resolution asking for the calling of a special session. Miss Larch-Miller, by the time she gets home, she is even more seriously ill. She's showing symptoms of pneumonia by this point. She goes back to bed. And unfortunately, very early in the morning of February 2nd, 1920, she passes away. 25 days after her death, on February 27th, Oklahoma ratifies the 19th Amendment and making Oklahoma the 33rd state to do so. There was still 3 more, and it had not been an easy battle. I mean, we're talking, it had been over 70 years at this point, and there was more to do. There was more to do after that. There people arguably would say there's still more to do today. So I think it's important for all of us to understand in this day and age, she gave her life essentially for that right. So yes, it was really important, and it's still important to this day.
Join us again next week for more Loyal TV.